the so far in this list, four things that surprised me about life. That surprised me at least about my life, and surprised me about life overall. Life on the planet Earth, life in the world, you name it, life in the universe. What surprised me about life in four different ways. The first one is the spotlight. So we got this idea of focus and jealousy. Now, with focus, it's like where attention goes, attention grows, right? So you would think that if you focus enough on something that you actually care about, you would get enough of the attention back to you, or at least enough of things going on in your life circumstantially in that orbit. I find that it's very difficult to give people enough chances to realize what I actually wanted in my life. Not so much to validate my interactions and all that, but to like actually like give it enough life so I actually prove that it's there. I've explained to you guys before in other videos that there was this time in RTC class number 2 where I had a bit of conflict about what counts as a hobby or interest, and people would say that you have to do something about your interest and hobbies in order for it to exist, and I was always arguing against them about that. So it's like, considering that, it's like, yeah, I guess that kind of a focus isn't really given too much attention. Maybe focus and attention don't have to be conceded with each other, but that kind of thing. So, and then jealousy. So jealousy being like how you get into like a like, would you want to have that much attention in your life? Would you want to be the person who is in the center of attention? The idea of not necessarily need to be the center of attention, but at least having some attention, right? Like, you don't want too much attention sometimes. If you're like someone like me who wants all the attention anyways, but or even someone like me who supposedly wants to have attention that works, but it doesn't have to be that kind of way. It doesn't have to be like where you don't know what to do with the attention you have, but it just happens to look like that. So it's like but jealousy is more like, oh, I wouldn't have to worry about not having be the spotlight as long as I had some form of attention, not all of it. That's the kind of argumentation I have about that. So, second item we got is polar extremes. This is more about the perspective and criticism of things. So, this can connect, unfortunately, to cancel culture and with other things in life. A cancel culture being that we've seen how, even in my world, even without cancel culture, a question of that as well, that there are ways to see the opposite, things as the opposite of what they actually are, or even the opposite of what people see them as otherwise. And so, with me, my perspective can be unique at times, but more than that, sometimes even is like criticism is something that I used to be afraid of a lot of times, if even still am. Like, the example I'll make of extremes is that I've already been someone who has not been any better about knowing that people are going to see things the way they want to, even if it's against the truth of what you would think of it true. Like, I would always be a bit hard on the idea of how there's no point telling the truth if people are going to find what the truth is on their own terms. But to be honest with you, I would rather be the kind of person who does not know how that comes to being his own extreme, whether it's being seen as opposite how I see myself, or seeing something in the way that I want to make necessary in a good way with good intentions. Having those true good intentions and still being seen as the villain can suck, but just something like that. So, third one got is objectivism, and I made a lot of videos about objective and subjective as well. As made references to Hiring Private's video that he hasn't listened now. I can link it if I need to again, but yeah, if I have the link at least. You got time and arrogance for this one. I can show you the list at the end of the video if I can, but the way I define objective was things like reality and action and all that stuff, but not like that explains a lot, but with time used to be my biggest problem like early on in my life, and then arrogance being that being confident in what you know is better than not knowing anything better with what you want to prove that you know to be able to teach it. And I give advice, I advocate for advice for that. And if that doesn't make sense right now, I'm sorry, but just go for those that show that maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but making this whole video like this, but about four things that surprised my whole life. But time seems objective because it has this essence of being like, do you want to be someone who's only worrying about time in the future, or be like me and worry about the time only in the childhood? Nah, okay. But seriously, it's just like time seemed objective because it was more like it was very intense how things happen. You had to make decisions and choices, all that. Doesn't matter if they're counted as being wise, Jesus Christ, or whatever the heck. But and we can be arrogant about the things we know. Just because we know them doesn't mean we have to know any better about them. We can judge the facts, we can judge the logics, and the logic doesn't have to lead to things we sometimes even rationality doesn't lead to places we expect it to be able to. Like there are really desirable places and even really fantastic places we can get to in our lives that can't get to those points with logic. Logic won't lead to those routes and those stations, unfortunately. So that's the idea with that. But being arrogant what you know doesn't mean you know enough about what you know. You know, it's like if you're arrogant what you know, at least flaunt it and be confident about it in a good manner. Not so much the worst ones, I guess you could say. Be arrogant about what you know, and because you know that it's going to be confident. Not so much to be narcissistic or whatever, but to actually know it and to not act like there's nothing better to do with it, even if you are right. So, the last one we got is compromise, and this is about illusion and luxury. These supposed to be quotes of their own, but the illusion of luxury and luxury illusion, being that luxury doesn't have to be its own thing. Like you could tell someone, "Oh, why do you need boundaries?" This is a bit of a personal, this is a bit of a personal projection, unfortunately, on my end, but I've been told that I shouldn't have boundaries if I have the luxury of everything else I have in my life. I shouldn't have to struggle with gratitude if I'm already luxurious anyways. It's fucked up. Who do you tell that to? Like, why do you tell someone like don't have boundaries if you're luxurious? Don't struggle with gratitude if you're luxurious. Like the fuck. But like, illusion being that with compromise is like, you don't have to lose everything. You have to even lose enough things you think you have to sacrifice. There are some things you think you have to sacrifice for because you have to sacrifice for what you want comes to sacrifice. But that being said, you have to lose everything in certain situations, and so it depends on what happens for your life. But that's where the illusion comes in. The luxury is that you shouldn't have to feel like you're having too much to give too little. When you give an inch and people take a mile, that's how you know that doesn't have to be about luxury or illusion. What you compromise with. And that being said, I'm gonna give this another 20 seconds after 7 minutes. So, the last thing I'll say for this video is that these are the items: the spotlight, focus, jealousy, polar extremes, perspective, criticism, objectivism, time and arrogance, and compromise, illusion, and luxury. Thank you guys very much. This is the end card. Did I even come through this mic any better? Did I even sound like I was being talking out all the whole time? I sound weird in this video too, but I'm not being hard myself. Just saying, like, this video sounds a little muffy and not easy to hear or anything like that. You can hear me while I'm saying right now, but you're not hearing what I'm saying. If that's a thing.